This is a short video to give you instruction about the oral quiz that you're going to take Tuesday. Originally, I was planning it for Thursday. Then it turns out that I will get my first COVID shot that morning. Therefore, I won't be available, and I want to just move on with this thing. So here is an example or a series of examples of what the format of the quiz will be like. You are going, first of all, I am going to send you to make available to you a sound file. And that sound file will contain questions. You will listen to that. You can interrupt the sound file anytime you want. You prepare your answers in Italian. And then when you're ready, you're going to record yourself. Give the answers in order. Now, do it in one take only. Don't cut, don't edit, keep going. Now, I know that for some might be more difficult than for others. In any case, the questions are questions that you have heard, should have heard zillions of times. All the material is available already in the various sound files in all the various pages of the textbook. Therefore, I am going to take the material that you have already been, that you are familiar with. I'll give you an example. Section 1. Section 1, I'm going to ask questions in English, and you will give the answer in Italian. So you will hear a question in English. You can write down the question if you want, and you can, at the end of the list of questions, you can go back, prepare your answers, so that when the time to record begins, you will be prepared. Again, don't do it section by section. Don't record in chunks. Prepare all your answers at once and then record them at once. So here is an example. This is page 1 of the textbook. I will start with numero uno. What is your name? You know how to answer that. When you record your answers, you will say numero uno in Italian. My name is blah, blah, blah. So my question in this section will be in English, and then your answer will be in Italian. Example, again, numero uno, what is your name? Numero due, are you a woman? Numero tre, are you a man? What you will do is you give only the answers in Italian. So let's go down, and I will ask something like, are you Italian? Are you American? Are you beautiful? Are you famous? You know that English does not have the masculine and the feminine. In Italian, it does. So if I'm asking, if you want to answer the question, are you beautiful? When you answer, you will say, I am beautiful, and you will use either the masculine or the feminine form according to who you are. So English allows me to ask a generic question, but you will answer using the specific gender that applies. Let's say that we continue, and I'll ask something like, you know this expression, right? Io abito in Italia. That means I live in Italy. My question could be something like, what city do you live in? You don't know how to ask this question in Italian because we haven't gotten there. But you know how to give the answer, right? I live in Brooklyn. I live in New York. I could ask, what country do you live in? Well, you know how to say, you don't know how to ask the question, doesn't matter because the question is in English to you. You will answer in Italian. This is rather important because it could connect back to the very first section. I will ask probably questions like, what is your father's name? What is your mother's name? What is your best friend's name? And you can choose either masculine or feminine. So again, I will ask the question, in this case, in English, and you provide the answer in Italian. Back to page 1, where we were at the beginning. Let me go down, and let's say I'm going to ask something like, is David Italian? Or is Venere Italian? And then you'll provide the answer. Now, let's say that I'm going to ask, do you work? You should know how to say, I work or I don't work. I could ask, what city do you work in? Again, you don't know how to formulate the question in English, in Italian, but you know how to answer. And that's the answer that you're going to give. Another example of the same questions. Are you beautiful? Are you famous? Are you Italian? Are you American? Let's go down here, and all of this stuff is covered. Let's say that we're coming to section 2. Section 2, I will ask something like, numero 1. Che cosa vuol dire buongiorno? Your answer in Italian will be buongiorno, blah blah blah, and then the meaning. Che cosa vuol dire famoso? And then you will give the answer. Che cosa vuol dire something like this? I'm highlighting it. Che cosa vuol dire anch'io? And you will answer anch'io, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and the answer to that question. Okay, the next section would be, let's look at this box here. Come si dice lesson in italiano? And you will answer in italiano, lesson, and you give the answer. Come si dice practice in italiano? And then you give the answer. So we already have 3 sections that you should, with material that you're familiar with and that you will be able to find in the text. We're going to come to the verbs. Again, it is possible I will add this section, but I haven't done it yet. So it will also depend on how much time I want the exercise, the quiz to take. So let's say that I'm asking you to conjugate the verb essere. And I will tell you, now conjugate essere. Or I could start with the question, che cosa vuol dire essere? Or come si dice to be in italiano? You'll give the answer, and then it'll say conjugate the verb. And what you do, you conjugate the verb. Now, whenever it comes to the third person, all you need is one person. It's not necessary that you say lui è, lei è, or lui, lei è. Just pick one and it will be sufficient. Remember that you have to do everything in one take, the entire oral quiz. So I imagine that you will have visual clues. You will have the text in front of you of this verb, but it makes an enormous difference whether you memorize that or not. I will be able to tell whether you are conjugating from your memory or if you are relying on reading what you have in front of you. Phonetica. It's possible that I will ask you to telephone spell your name using the Italian conventions, and you know what we do. We use the initial that corresponds to the name of a city. Okay, so be prepared for that. Again, it's a matter of fluency, it's a matter of how long it would take you, and all of those things will be clues for me to tell me whether you know what you're doing, or if you are just doing it for the first time, or if you haven't memorized it properly. About the famous CG cluster, make an effort to remember a word for each of the clusters, so that if I say che, you will be able to say orchestra, and so forth. Alfabeto, well, here it is. You should know the Italian alphabet. You have access to several videos and dozens of examples spread out throughout the textbook and in previous compiti that you did. Yes, I know there is a pretty brusque cut. Anyway, other things that we are going to, that is part of what you should know is the numbers, your year of birth, and how to say I was born in 2001, 2002, 1999, or whatever the year is. What about when was your father born? What year was your father born? Again, you only provide the answer. You don't have to translate the question because you don't know how to do it yet, but you have to be fluent in pronouncing the dates in Italian, the year, the number of the year, and so forth. I'm simply going through the pages now, the textbook, and you know the basic expressions. How are you? How do you feel? Remember that you only have to give the answer in Italian, of course. I already mentioned come si dice e che cosa vuol dire. So I'm simply going back to take a look at the pages that contain some of the dictionary items, the lexicon, the words that we went through in class. I saluti, and now you get a sense of how much work we have done. These are things that we introduced and we used a number of times, or we did some exercises. Again, here some very basic vocabulary, all stuff that you should be familiar with. I will only ask about the nouns, not the articles. So un, uno, una, il, lola, don't worry about it. Yes, maschile, femminile, I already mentioned that. I am repeating. There are several exercises that help you. And again, I will give you probably a word in English, and then you will translate, come si dice, or I'll give you a word in one gender, let's say Italiano, and you will have to write the feminine. All of this by now should be automatic. You know what the basic rules are, so you apply them. This is all. So spend some time with the material that you're less familiar with, and you will pass the quiz. Bye. See you tomorrow. Arrivederci, a domani.